Good morning, everybody. John Skepta here for GAI Insights, bringing you the top news, putting time in your day and thoughts in your head for the AI leader. If those of you want to follow along, go to gaiinsights.com/articles, and you can see those. Please make any comments in the comment field. We'll try to deal with them while we're going here. Today we have Luda, Ankash, Tim, and Paul, core team. Lots of models going on today, as we'll rate through those. A lot of announcements. Anyway, Ankash, start us off with the first one, if you would, please.
Thanks, John. So the first one that we have for today comes from HBR, and it is titled Why Your Company Needs a Chief Data, Analytics, and AI Officer.
Yeah, we've got Vipin Gopal from Eli Lilly, plus two friends of ours, Tom Davenport, Randy Bean. And let's see, who do we have in this first one? We have Tim.
Okay, I thought this was at least important, and I'm sort of almost leaning towards essential, which is unusual for me because I'm not a huge business consultant fan, even though I am one. But I thought it was actually a well-written article and made some important points. And using the forwardability metric, I'm going to forward this to some firms I'm working with. Just because of a couple of things. It's well articulated what the issues are. It makes a good case for putting strategy and data, in particular, and governance under one hat, which I think is a good idea. And the most important thing to me, which, as a former CTO and CIO and all that stuff, that I've fought for literally almost 50 years, is to make this a business operation, and as important as marketing and logistics and other C-level. You have a C on the title, but oftentimes these C roles are relegated to be under another executive, like the CFO oftentimes. And I've just always thought that was crazy, and I think it's even more crazy today. These are essential business functions. Our dear friend John Allen Kay always used to say there isn't anything but IT firms anymore, because information technology, including AI, is critical to virtually every firm in some really important way in their operations. So that to me is a very good point, that this really needs to be a business operation. This really should be part of the management committee. So I think as an overview of the issues and how to run them, it's actually good. I liked it.
All right, so we're sitting up between important and essential. The business is finally waking up to where this authority should rest, is what Tim says. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I certainly agree. Well, let me say essential because of the causing the debate. I actually disagree slightly with the solution here, but I think causing the debate is essential. And I think particularly for companies in the crucible, they are software companies now, and they need a software roadmap, and they need to run it like that. And software companies, it's Tim, as you know, the tech stack absolutely has a seat at the board meeting and at the executive team, and it's not thought of as some like a back office data processing thing here. And most companies aren't that way. So essential to cause the debate.
All righty, Ankash?
I was also essential on this one, John. I think every company which is in the Vince crucible, right, every services company, they are bound to get increased number of softwares, citizen-generated software, right? And it will be a pain to manage all that software generation from their employees, right? So it's essential for the company to have a chief data analytics and AI officer. So essential
All
for
right,
that reason.
Luda. Oh, sorry.
I
Luda,
was
where are you
actually optional.
Yeah, excellent.
Well, the reason being is such a I mean, if the leaders haven't woken up to the fact that AI is very critical at the moment, however, it is a technology. It's just a technology. It is currently very much in vogue, very hot, needs to be dealt with. So I can agree with essential because of or temporarily, but it will be. It will actually go down to be an IT function at some point. So at the moment, it's needed, right? And I think what the argument here is that that function needs to have KPIs at the cross business level reporting to the CEO. That I adamantly agree with. But in general, this is like a very at the point that we all know, and I think main leaders know as well.
So Luda, you believe that Moderna combining their AI and their HR is a tragic mistake then?
No. I actually, that one I very much support. I think this is where the a lot of shifts are happening, and that has to be, and even this article says, okay, we want to put it temporarily as a very visible function. That is okay, but it is really temporary, maybe a couple of years, but it's temporary.
Yeah, I was going to give this a T for toxic. I think this is not only toxic, but
Excellent.
I think this is really bad advice. If you want to, when I think of any of the organizations we've seen that, first of all, AI and its impact is decentralized, not just centralized. Second, if you give it to the data folks want to clean the data first before they do anything. And this is very much an experiment, discover and progressively structure the situation. I hear you, Tim, in terms of reporting to a business executive, but these are the weakest business executives in the organization by and large. So if you look at the power structure, this to me would take a normal organization and make them go 2 or 3 or 5 years slower if they have this organization structure. I think this, and then you centralize all this stuff at the same time that you take a look at somebody like Thomson Reuters. It's got 19,000 people doing a bottoms up creation of agents and all that other stuff. I think this is really, really bad advice. And it's going to be welcomed because the IT folks and the CDOs, chief data officers, are going to say, we can get control of this. That's exactly the wrong thing to be doing right now. Anyway.
This is what the main point is. It's a massively cross-functional operation. So you need to recognize it, but organizationally, you need to recognize it and maybe do it more of a committee with an oversight of business leaders that make a decision on the KPIs and the like. But putting it as a pipe is not going to serve necessarily, like John is saying, everybody. So I just.
I mean, take a look at some of the stuff we published about Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. Bill Fandrich is not a CDIO, right? I mean, a CDAIO or whatever, right? He is a line executive who happens to have technology and a bunch of other stuff reporting to him. I mean, he is a peer with the CFO and all that. It's just, I don't get it. Anyway, all right.
Well, that's the point I'm making. You're assuming a certain execution, which I guess is probably reasonable because that's the way it tends to go. But I don't see those as one and one. I just see the importance of somebody who strategically at the management committee is saying, right, you need to wake up and drink the coffee.
Right.
I don't see it as somebody in control of a pipe that gets stovepiped and doing all that stuff. I see it as a strategy position, not but you're right. I would have to concur that usually the way it gets done is as a control and empire building exercise, and that would be a mistake.
Yeah, that's exactly what would happen if you put it in the pipe. The other point I think is very critical, and I'm not sure how do you make it happen, and that is in this age, data is a gold mine, right? It has to be prepared, it has to be managed, it has to be sorted, and somebody needs to manage that. That usually sits within the IT function. This is the wrong positioning for it. So somehow you want to elevate it, but you want to make business leaders accountable across the board for their data prep with the help of IT function. So that's the organizational dynamic that needs to be orchestrated.
I hear you, Luda. That's another whole argument. I think that's the wrong way to think about data. Data is about what signal you get from the data, not how clean the data is.
Correct. Yes.
Right. And so, agree.
But anyway.
But that's why it's a business function.
No, but CDOs will disagree with that.
No, they're all going for third normal form, and they want to clean all the friggin' data, so that it's completely irrelevant.
Right. I agree.
Okay. Anyway, my problem with this article is that you want to put AI accountability, first of all, more decentralized and federated, I think, because AI is everywhere. Knowledge is everywhere. The other thing is that you want to give a line executive with power. In general, the only staff executive that has any power at the top of the house is the CFO because they control the purse strings. Everybody else is second fiddle to people who have revenue or operational accountability, operational other than technology. So I think this is putting it in the least powerful, most bureaucratic hands on average, and that is exactly the wrong thing to be doing. But this lovely debate that we're having right now, I think I'm going to go essential. So we have the
Well, but John, that's my point. Is cause the debate.
That's funny, John, because you were half convincing me to be optional. So
Yeah.
To essential.
yeah. No, but this is wrong-headed, and
I'm too much of an idealist. See, I like the idealist viewpoint, but I think you're right about the implementation. It's probably going to go sideways if you do it this way.
you can't give an initiative that's fundamentally going to change the productive capacity of the business and your interaction with clients to a staff executive. You have to give it to a line executive.
Yeah, that's the point. I agree with
but
that
these
one.
these CDIO, AOs, they're all staff.
Correct.
Right. And that's why, Paul, the CIOs would disagree, right? Because, yeah, exactly from that point. Yeah.
The CIO is only a line executive in places like a bank where they are running the factory, right? Every other place. At Lilly, where this is about, the CIO staff, period.
But it is worth a debate. It is worth a lot of thought from the CEO.
All right. Okay. So we're 11 minutes in here. We're going to let this go. But yes, that advice rated essential. Okay, next.
Okay, the next one comes from Mistral, and they have introduced Mistral 3 and a whole set of models around it.
All right, Luda, got open going on here.
Yeah. So when I looked at it, I said, well, yet another model from Mistral, right? But then I said, it's actually important. You know why? Because I think this is now that Mistral is high performance, right? It's open source, so strong control with privacy, customization, flexibility. So it has like open weight, so you can actually mold it as you want it. So with high performance, open source, open weights, lower cost, it becomes a strong strategic vendor diversification for risk mitigation for large enterprises. So they need to know about that, right? And it also has a great distribution through Azure and other vendors. So it's a European / American type of diversification partner potential. So I gave it an important, if not essential, for that reason.
All right, we got an important going to essential here. Akash, where are you?
John, I was also important on this one. So Mistral, they have launched a whole family of models here. The most interesting one is the small model, which you can run on a browser and a web GPU. And it's a vision model, so that's really interesting as well. Other set of models, they are similar to one or other model, which is already present in the industry. It's good to have different set of models coming in from someone other than China. And executives need to know that these are the alternatives. So for that reason, important on this one.
All righty. We got important on this. Paul?
They've raised $2 billion the last round. This is a product announcement. Just because you're in the Azure store doesn't mean anyone's buying it. The hyperscalers aren't pushing any of the models they're here. So I think it's a optional till we see more customer proof points. And again, if this stuff is so damn good, then should be easy for them to have a customer quote and customer reference with it when they announce it.
All righty, no customers here. Tim?
I'm with Paul on this one. It's a product announcement. If you're a European headquartered company or have major operations there, probably important just because of the provenance issue, but and regulatory stuff. But beyond that, this is a product announcement, and as Paul says, they don't seem to have a lot of traction, or at least they're not demonstrating traction in the marketplace.
They aren't. And I'm just shocked. I mean, even tech reporters aren't going to even follow this because there's no customers.
Yeah,
This market
but
is
Paul,
flooded with this.
yeah, I actually understand why no customers. They have the package wasn't there. So when you look at this release, yeah, it's a product announcement, and yes, I started with optional, but it does provide an alternative. So if you are a security officer in a large company and you decided to be on Anthropic or OpenAI as a platform, you need a second. You need a diversification strategy, right? And we talked about it. There's
Why?
nobody, because you want to have an ability to switch for low cost, for security, for on the edge type of solution that is like holistic, right? And
Yeah, but there's 175,000 models on Hugging Face. I mean, is this one all that different?
yeah, it is all that different. It provides all the pieces to the puzzle, I feel.
All righty. Well, I'm going to go for optional on this one. The big model isn't out yet. It's product announcements, early days, no customers. I hear you, Luda. I agree with your point. I just think there's a bad example of it. Okay. Optional is next, Ankaj.
Okay, the next one that we have for today comes from RC, and they are launching a Trinity manifesto.
Yeah, our friends at RC, did a big time pivot. So, what do you think, Ankaj?
So John, I was between optional and important on this one. So what RC is trying to do is they are trying to frame themselves as US answer to China's open mixture of experts wave. So the Quen set of models, DeepSeek and others, they want to be the US alternative for that. What they have launched is it's a Trinity Nano model, then it's a Trinity Mini model, which is a reasoning workhorse, and then there is a larger model, Trinity Large, which is a 420 billion parameter model. So what they're offering is any enterprise who wants to use their models, they can get the weights and the training loop of the model. So in a way, it's slightly related to what we have been discussing around sovereign AI and stuff, but not sure how good their models are right now. But as I said earlier, good to have an alternate to Chinese model, but still between optional and important for this one.
Okay, between optional and important, and we got the Mistral argument from Luda here. What do you think, Tim? RC.
Yeah, I think if I could more easily give this one an important because of the fact that it's an American-made product, and that I think is more important than people are thinking. We had this debate the other day about Chinese models, and a lot of larger enterprises, in particular, smaller enterprises, may take the risk because there is risk if you don't know the provenance of the data training and such. But a lot of larger companies just won't do it. They just will not go near them because of that. So, and so having an all-American model is actually probably a differentiator, at least for the moment. But it's a product announcement, interesting technical stuff that they've done, and interesting performance results. But it's a product announcement, and again, no customers cited. So I'd probably lean towards optional.
Leaning toward optional. Okay. Paul?
Optional.
Luda. Here you go.
Option-
Give it a shot.
Optional. I would give my vote to Mistral for the all the reasons Tim said. So, but this one
Yes.
is it's just smaller and it doesn't have all the cost and stuff that Mistral has.
Yeah, and I was wrong. Their big model, Mistral big model had shipped. It was this one where the big model hasn't shipped yet, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, optional it is. Oh gosh, next.
Okay, the next one comes from NVIDIA, and they have launched open model development for digital and physical AI. So this is their Drive Mayo R1 research model for autonomous driving.
Yeah, we got this amazing model for autonomous driving. What do you think, Tim?
I think you got to give this at least an important and maybe even an essential, not because of the content so much, but because it's NVIDIA and they are continuing to make strategic moves. And as a leader, you just got to be aware of what they're doing. So I think it's at least important. I think from the content perspective, it's interesting, but I would rate it optional unless you happen to be in the autonomous driving business, in which case it's essential. And they made some other announcements here about their robotics and text and audio. So this is, and we're going to see this with AWS. This NeurIPS is a big conference, and they made a ton of announcements. So lots of stuff in here. I would probably say important. You should read this because you don't want to get caught off guard. If somebody comes across this some random way and asks you about it in the hallway. So I could vote for essential, but I just don't think the news is all that interesting. Although at a strategic level, it's amazing. I think NVIDIA is one of the smartest strategic companies I have ever seen with as much money as they have. Because lots of companies from IBM, TJ Watson back in the day laboratories to Microsoft research laboratories, they build these laboratories and they have great people, but they don't get all that much out of them. And I don't know Jensen Huang or NVIDIA at all, but I got to tell you, they seem to be making smart investments in their research. And since the governments aren't doing it, they're filling a big gap and doing some really interesting research that pays off for them. They're in the right position for it because it just increases demand.
Yeah, amazing ability to execute and make stuff happen. Luda, what do you think?
I was optional because it's irrelevant to most AI leaders, but since it's NVIDIA, they're pushing on the robotics stack, and this is quite an impressive announcement. So I could live with important.
Can live with important, Paul?
I was an optional, definitely impressive announcement, but optional. It just doesn't move the needle for most AI leaders.
Akash?
Optional, John. Their autonomous driving announcement is impressive, but as Tim mentioned, not useful for every AI leader. And all the robotics announcements that are in there, they are just repackaged from earlier announcements. So for that reason, optional.
I think I'm going to land on important in this one for the reasons you said, Tim. It's NVIDIA. It's a big area. All right. Important it is. Akash, next.
Okay, the next one comes from AWS and the reInvent conference, and they have announced new capabilities for the agent builder.
All righty. I just want to be mindful of time here. We're kind of running low on time. Luda, what'd you think?
I actually was optional and then decided to put it as important. So it's a product announcement, but AWS is pushing the boundary of enabling agents to be much more productive. They're putting the memory function, they're putting boundaries that you can tell what the agent can or cannot do in a very easy way for developers, and also a library of evaluation functions that you can start with, like 13 of them in there, and then create your own. So I feel that since it's AWS with a big installed base and they're pushing orchestration for agents, it's an important announcement, even though it's a product announcement.
All right, big domain here. A lot of people are operating. What do you think, Tim?
I think, again, I'm going to segment this a little bit, which is, because I think if you're an AWS, big time AWS shop, this is essential. Because again, it's not so much what's in the content. You just need to be aware of it because you're bound to be asked by somebody at some point, what's this thing from AWS? And you better have an answer. So I think from just, if you're an AWS shop, you need to be aware of this stuff. For everybody else, it's pretty optional, interesting, but pretty optional.
All righty. Paul?
I'm with Tim. I think it's, it's not enough to switch. You're not going to switch hyperscalers because this, but it's definitely impressive. And I think, Tim, I like your characterization that one role the AI leaders need to stay aware of what the major players are, and they also need to be aware of what their one or two hyperscalers are doing.
All right.
Yeah, but my point was about orchestration of agents and the infrastructure that is needed for them. And so AWS is
could be great, but it's it could be great, but it is a product announcement, and
totally.
Could be great, especially the evaluation stuff. But you got to wait and see.
I was more interested in the product announcement with they're now having a fast switch over to Google Cloud, which they were fighting even just 12 months ago. But optional is my vote.
All right, optional. Akash.
I was important, John. So I feel the two things that they have launched here, the evaluation framework, right, and the memory bit, those two are very important. So if you look at all the people who are building these agents, those are two things that they are most struggling with. So getting that in your own platform where you are building agents, I think that's a good thing. But I agree with Tim's point that it's important for all the folks who are on Amazon Bedrock and are using Agent Core.
Yeah, I was heavily optional on this, but the more I think about it, the thing about Amazon is they can have a huge influence on the architecture of where these different functions sit because they're a big player.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I've done a bunch of studies on the evolution of standards, and standards generally follow the volume of transactions. So whoever's got the transactions, and they have tremendous amount of transactions and folks on their platform. So, I was just listening to a thing about Project Nanda out of MIT. I think their challenge is they don't have any flow. They don't have any clients that are actually implementing the thing, and they're not working. I mean, they're not working. As far as I know, they haven't got agreements with telcos or other people who could be very interested in that. But AWS has a lot of transactions flowing over their platform. Okay, important it is. Ankash, next and last. I know we're running very tight on time here.
Right, John. So the last one again comes from AWS, and it is related to the earlier announcement. So as part of the reInvent, they have launched a new version of their AI training chip called Trainium 3. They have expanded agent core capabilities, and they have introduced an AI agent worker bee called Kiro Autonomous Agents. And then there are 4 new Nova set of models and services, and an AI factory, which is sort of a private compute for enterprises. So due to all these announcements and AWS being a strong player in the AI space and it's a hyperscaler, I was important on this particular news.
All righty. What did you think, Tim?
I've got the same opinion about this. If you're an AWS shop, you got to know this stuff. So it's essential. If you're not an AWS shop, may be important, but probably optional. Because again, you get these conferences like Microsoft Ignite and AWS reInvent. They just announced 5,000 things. The thing that's most interesting here is, to me at least, was the factory. This is sort of like I'm surprised the hyperscalers haven't done more of this already. To me, this is like FedEx or UPS taking over logistics for a company. So if you're going to run an inside data center, why not have the largest hyperscalers in the world run it for you? They already have a lot of expertise. For them, it's a question of, can they make a profit on this business, and can they set up the service lines right? But it's a logical extension, particularly around AI, where you're going to have some complex infrastructure and training systems and all that kind of stuff. So that and the compatibility with NVIDIA that they're announcing are interesting, but really not relevant at the surface level to 90% plus of the population.
All righty. So you're going optional for the population.
Optional.
All right, Paul.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with Tim, and I just want to note that no one builds AI applications anymore. I mean, software applications. Every application is now an agent. So it's really quite stuff. I mean, it's just, SAP is an AI agent, and someone does a GPT as an AI agent. So it's really become silly. But this is
and the only kind of programming is object-oriented programming. That's what John and I remember. It's all there is object-oriented. Everything's object-oriented.
Yeah, there you go. Luda.
Totally optional. It's like a slew of announcements for AWS people. They know it. They will dig into it. And for the rest, it's just and we don't know what would stick. So optional.
All right. Sorry, Ankash. Sometimes democracy sucks. What can I tell you? We're going optional. All right. If you put together the top board, any announcements?
2 announcements. Tomorrow, Thursday, we have our weekly ChatGPT free 101 training. And this Monday, we're going to have part 2 of our 201 training. So we're doing a lot of 201 training, and Jenny's going to continue that. So tomorrow at noon, 101 for ChatGPT, and 201 part B Monday at 7 Eastern.
All righty. There we have it. We'll have a great AI day, everybody, and see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye now.